over that number. The odds makers or the bettors obviously are beginning to get a little wise to that because apparently it's dropped a little bit. But no, look, the run-up game, do I expect Team USA to win? Yes. Do I expect it to come down to a last possession where South Sudan could actually win the game? No. Kevin Durant being added to the equation. Now, if it comes down to a last possession situation or fourth quarter, you have that extra ammo, that extra score to take advantage of. I believe that will be the difference. But I don't think it was any accident that South Sudan wasn't just a surprise, but they stay with Team USA. They have the athleticism to make three-point shooting in particular and attacking the rim difficult. They can stay in front of us. I talked about the lack of or the familiarity. When Gabriel played with LeBron James. So they were teammates. Royal Ivey to me, is the X factor or secret weapon as the head coach of South Sudan. Guy who's now with the Houston Rockets, was with the Brooklyn Nets, was there with KD. He knows these guys. So there's no intimidation factor. And I think what surprises me the most is that South Sudan plays an NBA-style game because they have a lot of guys with NBA experience, and they can match our athleticism. And more than anything, that has always been the trump card for Team USA, is that the depth and the athleticism is what puts Team USA over against most international competition. South Sudan takes that advantage away. So, do I expect Team USA to win? Yes. Do I expect it to be a blowout on the level of Serbia? Absolutely not.
Now, the ugly American's going to speak.
Okay.
They're getting ready to boat race this team. Okay, I understand that the game took LeBron James a layup in the end to win the game and all those sort of things. Many times professional athletes look at teams that they're not familiar with in certain situations, and they kind of just say, oh, well, whatever, we should be able to beat them. And they just roll out there, and then all of a sudden there's a shock to the system, Rick and Skip. And then once you learn that shock to the system and you try to erase that, but the deficit is such that you close the gap and you still stuck in neutral. You go back, you self-evaluate, you look at the film, you do the scouting. The coach decides it's a different rotation than he did in a practice game. It's all different than it was a week or so ago. I understand that we think, because Luol Deng's over there and it's former NBA players or NBA players that get a little taste here and there, that it's the same. I don't see it that way. I think this team realizes, and understands with these veteran players, there's no way they're going to shoot, 7 to 28 from three. They're not going to shoot 7 to 28 from three. We're not going to do that. No.
Well, they made 18 against Serbia.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not going to do that. I'm feeling more closer to the 18, Skip, than I am the 7. And I understand 30 points is a lot. There's no question about it. But I can almost to a fault guarantee you, Rick and Skip, that they're going to wind up running away with this game, and we'll all be sitting here on Friday saying, well, we didn't really expect that. At least y'all will, because that's not the way I feel. If LeBron James is truly chasing Michael Jordan, and Kevin Durant truly is chasing LeBron James to get the MVP, do you honestly think that they're going to sleepwalk on a team that they barely escaped from? They're not going to do that. You think Steve Kerr wants that on his record? Not even. He's looking to the Chuck Daly of the world. He wants to be known as the Dream Team 2 that just wiped everybody away.
Yep. Okay, so Rick, I must admit publicly, for once, I'm leaning Keyshawn on this one. Forgive me, but I think Team USA was incredibly fortunate, was blessed to have a weirdly, randomly scheduled practice game against South Sudan. Because without that practice game, I think we would be in some jeopardy today, because we might be privately scoffing and laughing at whoever the hell South Sudan is, just the way Paul Pierce and to a certain extent Keyshawn did, so did I, on the Friday before that Saturday practice game. We all sat up here and said, South Sudan, is there an East Sudan or a West Sudan? We didn't know anything. And we didn't recognize any of the names except Wenyan Gabriel, who did once upon a time play for the Lakers, and he actually started 8 games for your Lakers. So at least we thought about him a little bit. But as we speak, not one of these players is affiliated with an NBA team. Not one of them, even though 4 of them have brief little cups of coffee here and there. And their best player is Carlik Jones, who 2 years ago was the leading scorer and the MVP of the G League. That's pretty good. But it was so impressive to the NBA this past season that Carlik Jones wound up playing in China and then in Serbia. So nobody bit off his sensational G League MVP performance and signed him last year. And he's their best player, and obviously he had a triple-double in small scoring. It was 15, 11, and 11 against us in the practice game. And then, as Keyshawn points up, they had one of those days that they made 14 of 33 threes that day, which was 42%, which was very good for them. And then they pulled off what was termed a big upset over Puerto Rico in our group play. And so here they sit, but I think they have our attention now. And I'm pretty sure that our guys are going to take this very seriously. And I do think they're on some mission to show that they're the greatest USA team ever, including the Dream Team. And so it's a way to make a statement against a team that embarrassed you, even though we held on to win. Carlik Jones had a shot that AD changed dramatically when he played center field on the play, because you can in international play. But the point is, I just think we're going to come out readier than ever. And if Kevin Durant, Rick, if you're right, and he keeps doing what Kevin Durant does, well, obviously he didn't play in the practice game. It's going to tilt the playing field way in our direction. And I know Paul, who had scoffed at South Sudan, then apologized to South Sudan. Then he actually gave me, he took South Sudan plus 20 in this game. So I went ahead and said, I think we could win by 22 in this game. And I could be dead wrong about that. I don't have great conviction. But to your point, the bettors are slowly betting the spread down. I think it opened at over 30, and now it's down to 28.5. So is it a sucker bet? Maybe. Go ahead.
Yeah, look, I just, there's a reason I'm not saying I expect South Sudan to win, even though they had the opportunity to in the run-up game. I believe that Steve Kerr has a better sense of who he wants to play and the rotations and how to match up. He was still experimenting when it came to the South Sudan game. But there's no getting away from the size and athleticism that South Sudan has, and that we have weaknesses defensively when it comes to matchups. Like Steph Curry can be exploited. He was exploited against Serbia. So can you play him? Devin Booker did not play well defensively against South Sudan, overmatched athletically. Even LeBron James is going to have to play great defense, because they've got 5 guys who can come at you with size and athleticism. So do I believe that Team USA should win and that it's not going to come down to a last possession or two? Yeah, that's what I expect. I in no way believe that Team USA is going to be able to run away with it, because I don't believe it was an accident that South Sudan did what they did in that run-up game. It's Team USA's game to lose. But what South Sudan has that negates a lot of the strengths that we rely on, because we just don't have the chemistry. We don't have the time to develop that cohesion. South Sudan takes those away. They take away some of the strongest things that we rely on because of those. And that's why I still think it's going to be a game worth watching from the first to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it will be. And you know what the score will be? You know what U.S. will win at the end by, Rick? Right now it's 28. Right now it's 28.5 point favorite. I'm adding a 5 onto that. Do the math, and that's what it's going to end up with.
Okay. Wow.
That's what it's going to be. I'm just telling you. They getting ready to bust. Look, I know how athletes think, and I know how I thought. And I would think these athletes, these LeBron Jameses, the Currys, the Durants, the Bookers, all the guys that we know, and Ant-Man, all of them, they think like me when they challenged. And when you challenge these type of guys, they have no remorse for you. They're going to try to put their foot on their neck so they can quiet the Ricks and the Skips in the world down and bring that noise down about, oh, the international people have caught up to us. They really, Skip just mentioned, there's not one guy that we can point to that is in the NBA right now. Doesn't really mean a whole lot because international basketball, obviously, a lot of guys elect not to go to the NBA to stay overseas to play because it's just a lifestyle. It's a different deal. So really, I understand that part. But there's something to be said about the experience at a high level playing in the NBA.
Yeah.
These other teams that are international, whether it's Canada or France or even Serbia to a degree, or even Greece, all of their top-line players are high-level NBA guys. So they get a little bit of a different conversation going when they play the U.S. because you can say Joker, or you can say Giannis, or you can say Shea.